Hi, this is Jacqueline here with the Grow Program. Thank you for growing with me on today. The light of God is beginning to shine again. Joy cometh in the morning. Joy cometh in the morning. Even on this day, as our hearts are heavy, as another legend is failed, I'll tell you this. There are also some legends that are failed by their spiritual warfare that were not famous. We had a king that was almost taken out by the police in uniform. They tased him, they maced him, they beat him, they did all kind of stuff to him. And I don't know if they meant for him not to make it or what, you know. And now it is in the forefront of the media what is going on, yet again with the evil in the police department. All of that was unnecessary. We are going through so much. We're coming up against so much as a people. That's why it is so important that we as a people bond together and begin to grow in love and grow over this oppression. Now I'm going to tell you something. I'm moved by the Spirit. I am moved by the Spirit. It's my house is stuff going on now. But I will tell you something. In the front of my house, the highway of life is right out there. It's a main road, honey. It's not really the highway, but they treat it like the highway until the police get behind them, and then they act like they got some sense. But here, it's right in front of me, and I could go to sleep to the sound of the highway. I love the sound of the highway, and the Lord knew that I love the sound of the highway. Yeah, I like being in the country house like that. Yes, that's fine too. But I also like to see, this because it reminds me of the highway of life, and how you run into folks who just out to get you no matter what. They won't even give you an opportunity to turn left or turn right. They in such a hurry to get where they trying to go and have what they trying to have, which is nowhere and nothing, and cause a traffic jam up ahead. And so those the ones I'm trying to get to, honey, that's caught up in this spiritual warfare, of how we do people, of dogging one another. We got to overcome in love. Love drives out hate. This is a journey that we on. You are on a journey with me, and I'm Grow is very busy. I don't just be sitting by twiddling my thumbs. And what you hear that clanking, that's my bracelet. I should have took that off. But I don't just be sitting by twiddling my thumbs. The movement is very busy. I'm pushing the movement, honey. I push it on Twitter and I push it on Facebook, and we are growing. I don't really even have time. See, because I used to obsess over the podcast numbers. I'm so busy with the movement, I don't have time to go back and look at the podcast numbers that much. Because the beloved ancestor told me stop dwelling on the numbers, because the numbers are going to be just fine, and they are, because we are growing. Every time I look at it, we are growing. The numbers are just rising. They're rising. The countries are rising. The cities are rising. More and more cities, more and more. It's a blessing that we are not heard in Delaware. That's really a blessing. And in New York and in Texas. See, because if we begin to overcome and love and grow, then these mass shootings and different things that's going on, we'll cut down on a whole lot of that, because we're going to drive this evil on up out of here. We're going to get out of this spiritual warfare. We're not going to be a part of it. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to have an episode every single day, and I'm trying to get into a routine here. I really am, where I'm not interrupted, because I don't like being interrupted when I do my podcast. I don't like putting stuff on hold and then try to go back and get my mind frame back. Because see, as a minister, you have to go with the flow of God, and God can't be interrupted. See, that's why in the church, you miss the message a lot of time, because it's a lot of foolishness going on. A lot of of people got to get up and go use the bathroom. Then the sweet little baby, bless his heart, will start crying for something. You get distracted. You turn around, somebody looking at you crazy. You look over there, so-and-so, so-and-so got something out against you. Don't want you here. Been talking about you. Just all different kind of warfare that's going on in the church. Then you think you got to go tell your problem to the pastor, and next thing you know, he preaching about it. He telling other folks what's going on. Looking at you all crazy. They're going, because you got to stop telling people your business. You got to keep your business to yourself. Cause I'm going to tell you something. Telling folks your business going to get you caught up. Because that's what happened to me. Telling somebody some of my business. And what was going on, and it wasn't even like that. I had a certain situation that I was dealing with, and whatever, and there I go, getting caught up in some mess, slipping up. And I did it. Yeah, I did it. But see, I shouldn't have told my business to nobody. I should have kept that to myself. And that's how a lesson that I learned. And so a lesson that I can teach you. You don't need to confide in nobody. That's between you and God. Trust you and trust God. That's who you trust. That's who you count on, because the words say you are more than a conqueror in God. You are a mighty warrior in God. You don't have to trust nobody. God said, by my spirit, you are a warrior by my spirit. Let me find that scripture real quick. But I'll just read it to him on Facebook, honey. That's what I be doing all day I'll do it all day, until I fall asleep. It's Promote Grow on Twitter, Promote Grow on Facebook, work with my ambassadors. And we're lifting people, honey. They're doing stuff right now. The ambassadors are out there working right now in India, in Kenya. They're out there working with the people, buying shoes, buying food, buying clothes, doing different things. And so I don't just be sitting here with nothing to do. And then I have other people that I deal with and counsel, not by telephone too much, because I really have to save my voice for the podcast. So then I tell people, you got to work it out. You are a conqueror. You got to work out your problem. Now we can talk about the Lord. I can lift you up. I'll lift you up, but don't burden me with your problems. Your problems are your problems, and you need to work your problems out, because the teacher gave you a problem. Say, here, go work it out. Go solve it. I'm giving it to you. Go solve. Don't go talk about it. Go solve it. And so that's what we got to do in God. Thank God. Here come the light of God shining again. The light of God over the storm. I'm telling you, joy coming in the morning. As we going through, your breakthrough is coming. I sure wish it's, that's why I'm trying to catch people. I'm really trying to catch people, to keep them from being failed by this oppression. Whether through they fail themselves or failed by this country, because had the drugs not even been come in this country, how the drugs wind up in here. We got a CIA that's supposed to keep these drugs out of here, these type of hardcore legal drugs, but yet they steady popping up in the community. You can go buy them drugs like you go buy a Pepsi. It's ridiculous. So what's going on? Is it a war on drugs? Where is the war? Who is the war on? Who in the war? What group of people is on this war? Where's the why? Seen them fighting the war on drugs. Where's the war on drugs at? Seriously, that keeps failing these people. That keep failing these people. But I'm tell you something. I'm getting ready to tell them. Look, whatever they going there and creating that laboratory, thinking they getting ready to come out for you. Don't take nothing. Don't do that. Don't take them pills and different things. And them drinks. See, cause the drinks are getting pretty strong too. So you got to watch out for that. If you got to have anything, sit back and have you a glass of wine or something, from the earth or something that ain't going to get you caught up like that if it's legal, there. But I'm telling you, you need to stay away from these hardcore drugs and stuff that they trying to offer you and trying to give you. You see your brother and sister been failed by it, and they're in the struggling with it. But see, all I got to do is tell them. All I got to do is tell them you are more than a conqueror in God. You ain't got to be steady talking about, I got to go to this meeting. I got to do this because I'm weak. I can't make it. I can't. No, you are more than conquering God. He says so in his word. God says so. So listen to this scripture. Zechariah 4:6. Not by my might, nor by power, but by my spirit, said the Lord. not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, said the Lord. Zechariah 4:6. You are a warrior of God. You are a conqueror of the Lord. Through you, nothing defeats you. Nothing defeats royalty. You are royalty. You are of God. Nothing defeats royalty. So there you go. Mind over anything. Mind over anything. If you believe that. Now, if you don't believe it, then you're going to go back and doing you. See, but if you truly believe that, then you're a warrior of God. Zechariah 4:6, you are a warrior of God through his spirit. You are a conqueror. So you got to step out on faith, believing that, knowing that, and allow God to order your steps. Allow God through his spirit to order your steps, because that's exactly what's getting ready to happen. You are getting ready to let go, and you are getting ready to let God. You are getting ready to step out on faith. You are getting ready to let go of all this chaos, negativity, and drama. You are getting ready to step forward in the Lord. You are getting ready to be blessed. You are getting ready to come out with substance. You are getting ready to rise. You are getting ready to eliminate all that drama and all that foolishness and all that chaos and all that negativity and all that drama. You getting ready to let all that go. All that's behind you is over with. Rise, conqueror. You're a warrior. You done defeated it. You done won the battle. You gonna come out. You gonna come out with substance. It's you. I'm telling you, it's you. It's all on you. You got to believe. You got to believe. I believe it. I believe it for you because it happened for me. See, because I don't do evil no more. I ain't no part of that. I did the evil I did was to me, but I ain't no part of that foolishness. I'm trying to rise. I'm trying to do better. It's a better way in God. It truly is. It's a better way. All you got to do is say, I don't want to do that no more. I don't want to be a part of that no more. But it's some people who like to live under that old adage. Well, Jesus forgive. If I keep on, Jesus gonna forgive me. He gonna forgive. But there's a word that God is very big on, and that's called accountability. Being accountable for yourself and for your action, what you do here on this earth. You got to give an account to that. You have to. You're gonna give an account for for the evil wrongdoing, unless you ask God for forgiveness and repent and turn around and come back. And come back to the Lord, which you know is right. Which is love. God commands you to love. Love drives out hate. You are a warrior. You got to forgive. You got to be like the great mountain. Starting to release all that sludge off of it. And begin to rise in God. Begin to reach your greatness. See, that's what God put us here to do. Is to love one another. He put us here to love one another. But as you can see, the evil has taken over the world. The evil has come up through folks. It's a spiritual warfare. Even those who say that they were on the right side, Republicans, turn out to look like, whoa, they on the evil side. They really don't want this, and they don't want that. Turn out some folks is doing some stuff that they really shouldn't have been doing. You mean tell me somebody, a man in Texas, who's supposed to be one of the representatives out of Texas, he left and flew to Mexico and left all his people behind, all his constituents, left them all back there while he want to go sunning on the beach when a hurricane is coming through, and just left the people on their own and left them to face these thousands and thousands dollar bills, electric bills, and he ain't doing nothing about it. Just left them high and dry. You mean tell me that's who representing the state of Texas? See, that's what I'm saying. These people ain't right. It's a spiritual warfare that's coming up. And then he turn around and lie and want to put it on his own baby and say his baby made him do it. What kind of foolishness is this? Who is this man? Who is this clown? He's some leftover from the clown show that we just had for the past 4 years. Here's some residue off of that. See, we need to get rid of that old sludge like the great mountain. He part of the sludge that needs to go so this country can rise, and reach its greatness. This whole world needs to rise. We need to get rid of all this old foolishness, all this sludge all over the world, because this world has turned into a great big ball of confusion. It has. The temptation was right. When they were trying to tell the world, they rose to be legends. Even though the oppression took some of them out, they still got a message to us. This is a great big ball of confusion. We need to get it together, people. That's what those freedom fighters were telling us. As they were singing through their songs, they had to, because they was a part of the movement where they wanted to be or not. Because, see, as they driving on buses and doing different things, they still African. They still getting, but it don't matter who they was. It don't matter who they is, who they happen to be. You still African. You see what happened to the first African president when he went in there? They were hanging Barack Obama dolls all around the place and doing different stuff, all evil. So it don't matter who you are. You could be the president of the United States, and he is not even safe from racism. No one, until we drive this evil out. And that's what's getting ready to happen with the Grow movement. It's getting ready to be driven out. We're going to drive it to the farthest corners of the world. I'm telling you, because we're going to keep on growing. Because I'm going to keep on talking. Because, see, that's why God kept me all this time, even doing my own foolishness. God kept me, and brought me out of that, brought me out of my foolishness. So, see, I can help the world. So I can be a living testimony that the spirits are not resting. My poor brother DMX, he gone, but his spirit is not resting. His spirit is moving. He's an ancestor now. He's on the good side. He was under oppression here, but now he on the good side. He on the side that's trying to move this movement forward, trying to propel us forward, trying to lift us up out of oppression, just as the freedom fighters were doing when they were here on this earth, as God put them here to do. Even though some of them were failed themselves, like Dr. King, a lot of them were failed. A lot of legends that we don't even hear about, don't know about. All the Rosa Parks who sat on the bus before Rosa Parks. All of them freedom fighters who died, at the hands of evil. Here we are to redeem a 400-year harvest, where Africans were taken and shipped all over the world to build up the world. But now it's time for harvest. It's time for us to rise all over the world and come together in love. And at the same time, we're going to build up where it's impoverished over there in the motherland. We're going to bring the motherland together. We shouldn't be having babies out there starving. The world is too rich. We shouldn't have babies out there sitting in the street eating, all over the world, just happy to get a blanket, happy to get a banana. What kind of mess is this? Where is the people that are supposed to be in charge? Where is these people that are supposed to be over there feeding the children? Where they at? What is it? What's holding up the money? What's holding up the help? There's a whole lot of people who are suffering, who can't get help, who begging me to help them. But my resources are so limited. So I'm doing what I can. And praying to the Lord that as this movement goes forth, we're going to begin to build up. We're going to begin to help the oppressed and lift up those who are under oppression, to know that there's a better way in God. Move forward and press toward the mark of the high calling of God. In God. I love you in God. We're going to grow in God all over the world. As I am moved by the spirits daily. I am moved by the spirits daily. There will be an episode daily. I hope to get an episode in the morning, and in the afternoon, just as the spirit moved me. But we got to go with the flow of God. That's what we got to do. Go with the flow of God. I love you in God. Greatness reached over oppression through wisdom all over the world. Let's rise.